We're ready to begin now. The Planning Commission is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and is posted in compliance with the open meeting law. We're live on KCLD Channel 2, and this meeting will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, Tuesday at 5 a.m., and Thursday at 6 p.m. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Trowbridge.
Present.
Vice Chair Truesdale.
Present.
Commissioner Goins.
Present.
Commissioner Evans.
Present.
Commissioner Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner Ellsworth.
Here.
Commissioner Flangus.
He's excused absence. Okay, we have a quorum. And we have the scouts in attendance now. Completed our Pledge of Allegiance just 2 minutes too early. Anyway, I call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the August 13, 2009 Planning Commission meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to our housekeeping items. Are there any items that the commissioners, staff, applicants, or members of the public would like to pull forward for action?
Mr. Chairman, we have no housekeeping items.
Very good. Hearing none, that's it. We have no consent. We have no one motion, one vote. So we're right down to the heart of the... Still more coming. Okay. We go right away to item number 6. Site Development Review 32534. The applicant owner is MFE Inc. Major amendment to an approved site development plan review for a proposed 3,600 square foot convenience store with fuel pumps and 1,300 square feet of retail with waivers of the Town Center Commercial Development, Landscape, and Streetscape Standards, where a 3,500 square foot convenience store with fuel pumps was approved at the southwest corner of Tenaya Way and Azure Drive. Note this application has been amended for a proposed 3,334 square foot convenience store with fuel pumps and 1,665 square feet of retail, where 3,500 square feet of convenience store with fuel pumps was approved. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this request would amend the previously approved site development plan review to reduce the area of the convenience store and add an additional general retail space to the proposed building. Minor site changes have been made to accommodate parking and amenity requirements. As the site complies with Title 19, the previously approved site development plan review, and is compatible with the surrounding uses, staff is recommending approval of this request. If denied, the previously approved site development plan review will remain.
Thank you. Anyone in attendance or like to declare the public hearing open? Anyone in attendance wishing to speak, please approach the microphone and give your name and for the record.
All right. I'm Jemmy Nisley, GK3 Architecture, 2111 Edgewood Avenue, and we respectfully ask for your approval. I think after multiple designs, this is finally a good one and meets Title 19. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Will you accept the conditions as presented in the staff report?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on this matter, please come up. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the Planning Commission for discussion. And there we have one lady. Please.
Yes, my name is Lynn Fenstermaker. I reside at 6075 Starlight Drive, and I'm representing the county island adjacent to this property. And originally, when this was rezoned to allow fuel pumps against our request, because we have wells and we wanted our wellheads protected against fuel leaks, We met with the developer, Montecito, and came up with a list of clear conditions for development of this site. And my understanding is when this first was put on the agenda, Councilman Ross asked the applicant to meet with neighborhood residents, which they have not done. We have not seen this plan, and we therefore respectfully request the commission to deny this request. Like I said, we went through and clearly defined what would be acceptable for the rural estates with horses and wells that were in the adjacent properties.
Thank you. Okay. With that said, I'll turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
I do have a question for the applicant. Was there a homeowners meeting held? Because my understanding was there should have been one, and there was a request for one, but I don't see any notes that shows that there was one held. Am I mistaken?
I wasn't aware of any requests. That might have been with a previous owner developer, but that wasn't requested of us, and certainly would have done so if we would have known about it.
I added an additional comment. When this came up on the first agenda, we contacted Councilman Ross, and he informed us at that time that he did indeed contact this applicant
Okay,
to
thank
request
you.
a meeting.
Thank you.
And what about having a meeting with the homeowners? Are you opposed to having one?
No.
So what if we obey this for a period of time, to have a meeting with the homeowners to find out what their concerns are, and see if you can resolve them, and then bring it back I don't know, a couple of weeks from now, 2 weeks, 4 weeks from now?
Okay, that's fine.
How much time do we need
If
there,
I may,
Director?
because we need to, the notice needs to be prepared, and we request 10 days. We would request an abeyance to your October 8th meeting so as to allow time to have the proper notification and have the neighborhood meeting and get the results back to you.
And are you comfortable with that? Can we obey this until October 8th?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, and you guys will have that homeowners meeting before then?
Yeah.
Great, and if you could let me know when that's going to be, I'll try to be in attendance as well.
Okay, very
We'll
good.
be sure to notify
Yeah,
you.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
just one question, because I understand the desire for the homeowners meeting, but I also would like to see what the expectations are. This was approved as a convenience store location previously with gas, and this plan meets our requirements. I guess I'd like, actually, I was hoping that the
Well,
lady representing homeowners.
I think we can see it right here by reading the item. I think they've increased the size of the retail by a couple hundred feet and the convenience store by a little less.
Yeah,
There's some changes to the
Well,
size.
we've not
of the
seen the
store.
site plan. What we had discussed with
That's-
Montecito was downlighting, the
Thank you.
location of the pumps, and a lot of details like that had been agreed upon.
Thank you.
Okay, and I guess what I'm trying to, just want to make it, is the applicant submitted the application, and it is substantially in conformance with what was presented to us previously. The issue of downlights is our standard requirements and those kind of things. I would hate to see this go to a neighborhood meeting and everybody goes, well, it's great, but if you turn it sideways, paint it purple, and put windows over the canopy, we might like it. I mean, there's got to be a reasonable expectation of what should be accomplished in that. So that's what I'm trying to get at.
Can I have a change of heart? I mean, I think that the project meets the standards. I mean, I think a vote on it today, there's conditions that we are going to meet those typical requirements. I mean, our motivation is not going to be to change the site plan at all. So,
Well,
But if the
here's
public-
my thought process. It's a matter of common courtesy. I mean, there's people that live out there. They've been living there, and you want to come in and put a new development there. Great. I don't see any problem with that. And it's great that it meets the standards and the expectations. But at the same time, as a matter of common courtesy to those homeowners that are there, why not? I mean, what's the opposition? And I recognize what Commissioner Truesdale is saying. And yeah, the expectation is that they can't come in and demand of you that you, what did you say, turn the building sideways and paint it purple.
Right.
But nevertheless, they can at least have a say in what's happening in their neighborhood. And this way they feel like, okay. And I think it's wise for you as well, or for the developer to do the same, to make sure that things are in conformity with the neighborhood and that the neighbors are supportive of the project. That's my thought.
Mr. Chairman?
I think we have a motion.
Yeah, my motion would be to obey this until October 8th hearing.
Okay. Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Opposed? Thank you. Item number 7, Site Development Review 35043. The applicant owner is 2301 East Sahara LLC for proposed 2,450 square foot restaurant and drive-through with waivers of the perimeter landscape buffer requirements to allow buffer widths of 5 feet, 4 feet, and 7 feet along the northwest and east property lines respectively, where 8 feet is required at 2301 East Sahara Avenue. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this item was held in abeyance due to a concern about the parcel map and a survey. Since that time, the protester who protested that has withdrawn their protest. That is part of your blue sheet application, along with the survey performed by the applicant. Staff will review the survey as part of the civil review and future development to ensure that all development does occur on the subject parcel. In regards to the SDR itself, staff supports the landscape buffer waivers as the request does not significantly impact the overall appearance of the site or adjacent development and recommends approval.
Thank you. Now to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Jay Dapper, 985 White Drive. We were here back on August 13th and presented the project, and we did have a neighbor that had some concerns. And since then, we've compared our civil engineering and our surveys, and he's provided us with a letter that we've also turned in. I think you guys have a copy of that, and he has no issue with the project anymore.
Thank you. And will you accept the conditions as presented in the staff report?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, since the matter has been resolved with the adjacent property owner, if there are no other comments, I'll make a motion for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Please post.
Thank you very much.
And that is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 8 is required review 35268. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor. The owner is WMC III Associates LLC. It's a required review for a previously approved rezoning which allowed 5 existing off-premise signs on property bounded by US 95, I-15, and Grand Central Parkway. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, since the publication of the staff reports, the applicant has applied for building permits for the 2 signs that were missing them. As such, staff is changing the recommendation to approval. One of those signs has received its final. The other one will be inspected tomorrow for its final. There is a condition of approval to require the final within 30 days. There's been no significant change in the area, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Good evening. Rod Carter, 2880 Mead Avenue, on behalf of Clear Channel Outdoor. We concur with the conditions imposed and happy to move forward and hear for your questions.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no questions, I move for approval of item 8, RQR 35268, subject to all staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Post. Motion carries.
Goes forward to council October 7th.
We now move to items 9 and companion items 10 and 11. 9 is zoning 35382. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. It's from commercial industrial to general commercial at 500 South Main Street. Item number 10 is zoning 35383. The applicant is the City of Las Vegas. The owner is the Regional Transportation Commission. It's from industrial and commercial industrial to general commercial at 400 South Main Street. And item number 11 is Site Development Review 35417. The applicant is the City of Las Vegas. The owner is the City of Las Vegas and Regional Transportation Commission. Is for a proposed 310,000 square foot parking garage with 675 spaces and 4,430 square feet of retail, with a waiver of the downtown Centennial Plan development standards regarding non-compatible exterior walls at 400 and 500 South Main Street. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, rezoning of the two subject parcels of land to the C2 General Commercial District in conjunction with the Site Development Plan Review will allow for the consolidation of the lots and the construction of a parking structure with general retail space projected to service the Symphony Park site as well as the proposed City Hall project. The rezoning requests are appropriate for the area as the proposed C2 district is compatible with the surrounding zoning districts, and staff is recommending approval of both requests. If denied, the associated site development plan review cannot be approved. The parking structure proposed in the site development plan review is generally consistent with Title 19 in the Downtown Centennial Plan, with the exception of the requested waiver regarding exterior wall compatibility. Condition of approval number 7 will mitigate this request by requiring the applicant to submit revised elevations for further aesthetic review, and staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. On behalf of the applicant, we have.
Yes, Chairman Trowbridge. Michael Vlajevich, 400 Stewart Avenue, representing the applicant, the City of Las Vegas. We've reviewed all of the staff conditions on the SDR and certainly concur with all of them. There is one clarification I should probably make at this time. It relates to some of the requirements as typical, require us to meet with staff to go over certain of the fine points of the project. In doing so, we've determined that we're going to have to set the building, the retail portion, back from the street a little bit to allow a ramping and stairs to get up to the 18-inch elevation above the flood flow. So that really means that we're going to be around 3,500 square feet of retail space on that rather than the 4,000 some square feet that was quoted on the application.
Less is acceptable. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible motions.
One quick question. Does this project, since it's the RTC and city and does this meet the new requirements that were, I think we adopted with regard to traffic study requirements, or have those been adopted yet or not?
No, they have not.
So is there a traffic study that goes along with this project at some point because of the peak hour ingress and egress to this site?
Lucian Pye, Public Works. I believe city staff is doing the traffic study. So yes, the traffic study is done.
If there are no other comments, I'll make a motion for approval.
Okay.
If I may,
Bang up one at a time.
on number 2, with regard to the language for conformity with the site plan, except as amended by conditions herein, to allow a minimum 3,500 square feet of retail space.
Yes.
Motion is for approval on item 9, subject to all conditions as amended.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote.
That's on the SDR. That's on the SDR. I apologize. The change is on the third item.
Okay, so number 9 is motions for approval subject to all staff's conditions.
Please post.
Okay, let me do this again. Subject to amended conditions. Can we vote again, please? Commissioner Goins?
Yeah, there is no amendment on the number 9.
So it's just subject to conditions?
Yes.
Let's withdraw that, please.
Please post.
And we're going to have to vote again, I'm sorry.
One more time. Okay, now we're going. Please vote.
Commissioner Quinn?
There we go. Item number 9.
With regard, or item number 10, motion for approval subject to all staff's conditions.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Post. And number 11. Motion carries.
With regards to item number 11, motions for approval subject to all staff's amended conditions.
Motion's made. Please cast your vote. Please post. Motion carries.
And that goes forward to council October 7th.
Thank you.
We move to item number 12, required review 35-241. The applicant owner is Clear Channel Outdoor. It's a required review of a previously approved variance which allowed an 80-foot tall, 14-foot by 48-foot off-premise sign at 2130 Highland Avenue. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant has been issued a building permit for the sign, but at the time of printing, the final inspection had not occurred. A condition of approval has been added, which requires the building permit final inspection to be obtained within 30 days of final action. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request as there's been no significant changes in development or land use in the surrounding area. Please note we did receive an additional protest since publication.
Thank
Excuse
you.
me.
I believe we have an abstention.
Yeah, I'll be abstaining due to the fact we own property in this notification area. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. For the applicant we have.
Good evening, Rod Carter with Clear Channel Outdoor. Just a matter of clarification. We have received our final inspection on that. Everything's taken care of. We concur with the conditions and request your approval moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion, now I'd like to see if anyone else in attendance would like to speak on the matter. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no comments, I'll make a motion for follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Please post. Motion carries.
Matter goes forward to council October 7th.
Item number 13 is required review 35-242. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor LLC. For the owner is O'Rourke Family LP. It's required review of a previously approved variance which allowed a 65-foot tall, 14 by 40-foot off-premise sign at 1716 Highland Avenue. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this required review is for a well-maintained sign that has been permitted and has had a final inspection approved. The location is appropriate, and the continued use of the sign will not adversely impact the surrounding area, and staff is recommending approval. If denied, the subject sign would have to be removed. Please note that an additional protest was received for this item.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Commissioner, I'll be abstaining on this item as well for the same reason. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Rod Carter, 2880 Mead Avenue, on behalf of Clear Channel Outdoor. Concur with the conditions. Look for approval moving forward. Thank you.
Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the Planning Commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if there are no comments, I'll make a motion for follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Post. Motion carries.
Council October 7th.
Item number 14 is required review 35-243. The applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor LLC. The owner is Ferris Investments, Inc. It's a required review of a previously approved variance which allowed a 65-foot tall, 14-foot by 48-foot off-premise sign at 2002 Highland Avenue. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this sign has all of its permits and finals. There have been no significant changes in development or land use in the surrounding area, and staff is recommending approval. Please note we did receive one additional protest after publication.
Thank you. Any abstentions on this one?
I'll be
Just kidding.
abstaining on this one as well. Thank you.
Okay, same explanation. Okay, I'd like to declare the public hearing open now. Anyone in attendance wish to speak, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Rod Carter, on behalf of Clear Channel Outdoor. We concur with the conditions. Humbly ask for your approval moving forward.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the Planning Commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no other comments or questions, I'll make a motion to follow staff's recommendations for approval.
If I may, one change to the conditions. Number 3 needs to say this variance, not this special use permit.
Thank you. As motion's been made, please cast your votes. Opposed? Very good.
Have a good evening.
Council,
Thank
October
you.
7th.
We now move to item number 15 and its companion item, number 16. 15 is variance 35-381. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas, is to allow 18 parking spaces where 26 spaces are required for proposed government facility, which is a fire station, at the southeast corner of Stella Lake Street and Mount Mario Drive. Item number 16, site development review 35-380, is for a proposed 7,600 square foot government facilities fire station. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, these requests are for a proposed fire station located within the Enterprise Park development. Staff can support the variance request as a fire station is unlike a traditional government facility in that it will provide both work and living space for a specific number of employees with minimal public access. The facility is expected to house no more than 12 firefighters at any time, and the parking provided is adequate. The use of the site for a fire station is appropriate, will be compatible with the surrounding uses, and staff is recommending approval of both items. If the variance is denied, the associated site development plan review cannot be approved, and a new site development plan review would be required prior to development of the site.
Thank you. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on this matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. For the applicant, we have
Sam Tolman, Architectural Project Manager for Public Works, representing Public Works and City of Las Vegas Fire and Rescue. We concur with all staff recommendations and request your vote.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this item, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to the Planning Commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, if no questions, a motion for approval on item 15, VAR 35381, subject to all staff's recommendations and condition.
Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Opposed? Motion carries. 16.
Item 16, move to follow staff's recommendation for approval of item SDR 35380, subject to all staff's recommendations and condition.
Motion been made. Please cast your votes.
Mr. Chairman, before we vote,
Discussion.
one question I had for staff or for the applicant. On the plan, it shows a fenced area to the north which is, I couldn't figure out what that was because there wasn't any details on the plan.
Due to Homeland Security issues, our fire stations do have a access fence so that there's not public access beyond the, I don't know if you can see, beyond the initial parking area for the fire trucks entering and also for the security, the firefighters and their personal vehicles being parked there.
But isn't there, it shows some kind of structure park or something north of that gate, north of the parking?
There's the trash enclosure.
I think you mean east.
Or east, I'm sorry, east.
Oh, east.
This plan is turned wrong on my screen.
Okay. As mandated by City Council, all our buildings are now required to be LEED silver. And one of the conditions that helped us, or is going to help us hopefully obtain LEED silver, is we are going to retain, not detain, but retain the capacity of a 2-year storm. And so this area west or east of the parking is a swale that will be landscaped for that retention area.
Okay, that makes no sense. But
Okay. Motion's been made. Please cast your vote. Opposed? Motion carries.
Goes forward to council on October 7th.
We now move to item number 17, special use permit 35224. The applicant is the House of Vino LLC. The owner is Titan Durango 2008 LLC. It's for a accessory packaged liquor off sale within a proposed 2,510 square foot convenience store at 8053 North Durango Drive, Suite 160. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain on this item because Mr. Eder represents a tenant of ours in another licensing matter before the city.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the request is to have 8.5% of the gross floor area dedicated to the sale of packaged liquor. The applicant indicates the hours of operation will be 5 a.m. to 12 a.m., 7 days a week. The proposed use complies with all of the Title 19 zoning code requirements and can be conducted in a manner that is harmonious and compatible with the existing and future surrounding land uses. As such, staff is recommending approval of this application. Please note we did receive additional protests after publication. In addition, a neighborhood meeting was held Tuesday night, and the results of that meeting are part of your blue sheets.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on this matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record.
Thank you. Dave Eder, 777 East Quartz Avenue, Sandy Valley, Nevada. I'm here this evening representing the applicant. We have reviewed all of staff's conditions. We concur with their conditions and respectfully request your approval on this item this evening.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. If there's several speakers, we have 2 microphones so you can switch back and forth. It does
Thank you.
speed it up a tiny
Good evening,
bit.
Chairman Trowbridge. Marvin Minishkin, 8416 Willow Cabin Street. In the issue of Vino, we look at the area of Durango and Grand Teton. One of the concerns goes back to well before, where everything that was going to be similar to that type of modality with liquor, et cetera, was on the west side of 95. And if you look at the east side, there's numbers of areas between 7-Eleven, between Albertsons, between Walmart 24 hours a day, Sam's Club, where liquor is available. We're not opposed to enlisting, because originally we were told it was a 24/7 operation, the 5 a.m. to midnight. We would like 5 a.m. to 10 during the week, and then, of course, Sunday through Thursday, or rather Friday and Saturday to midnight. However, if you look at the area, one of the things they tell us from Metro, I'm a coordinator for Neighborhood Watch. I'm a Metro volunteer police person as well, and vice president of the Civics Association and coordinator of Neighborhood Watch, I think I said, is the issue that that type of establishment in our area, through statistics, shows an increase in crime. By the fact that the food part of it, all those packaged items are wonderful, but when you look at what it brings into the community, by circumstance, it's a residential neighborhood. And a water school, swimming school would be next door, Taco Bell to the left of that. Just our position is the food items and the market, the packaged liquor, and we've heard there was a potential for gaming. We certainly have reservations about that. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak?
Good afternoon, or good evening, actually. Lisa Mayo. I am the co-founder of Northwest Residents for Responsible Growth, and we have concerns about this, about the application. As you know, this same group had an application in the Providence area, which you actually, in that application, they had the food, the liquor, and also gaming, and wanted to be open 24 hours a day. That Providence application was denied by you and was ultimately withdrawn from the City Council. And so, as Northwest Residents for Responsible Growth, we really look at all of the Northwest as the neighborhoods and how we can keep zoning and keep our neighborhoods and the quality of life intact. So as you look at this, I'd like for you to consider one key thing, and that is that what the neighborhood in Providence was able to achieve and how they were able to protect their neighborhood from the gaming and the liquor should be afforded the same consideration to the neighborhood at Grand Teton and Durango. If, in fact, this group is going to come in with a deli and sandwiches and those types of things that they have in the application, I don't think that anybody thinks there's a real problem with that. I've been to all the meetings. I did not go to the meeting on Tuesday night. I had a conflict, but there were 7 people in attendance, and my emails back to me were that all 7 of those people were opposed to the liquor and the hours of being open, late during the week. The Taco Bell is open Monday through Thursday till 10 o'clock and Friday and Saturday, or Sunday to Thursday till 10 o'clock, Friday and Saturday till midnight. There is a swim school. with a bunch of little kids. You know, I went over and talked to the owner and talked to some of the parents. That is literally almost adjacent to this. The parking lot is filled with little kids and kids coming out on Saturdays and during the week. One of the other things I'd like you to consider is this. The Northwest area, the appeal to me 10 years ago and the appeal even now is that the town center was where we were going to accumulate all those uses that were more commercial, that included liquor, included gaming and those types of uses. Our neighborhoods, out in our neighborhoods, and this is clearly a neighborhood. I think you have this here. You can see where that's located. It's really surrounded by houses. I've walked those neighborhoods several times on several issues up there. So the houses are very close there. And in fact, the bus route, there's a school bus that lets off right in front of, right near this location for the school buses that come down that area. So what I'd like you to ask you to consider, I'd like you to consider the fact that in Ward 6, when we've had other establishments like this come in, and I would use Vino 100 as an example. It came in and it wanted to sell wine. They were restricted to selling liquor to 65-inch case. So they were not allowed to sell packaged liquor at that location, which is at Azure and Tenaya. In addition to that, they had to be closed on Sundays, and their hours are 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. So they were held to a very, very strict standard. The neighbors came out. I actually lived in that area during that very long battle over that kind of a use in and around our neighborhoods. Now, because in this center you've got Taco Bell stays open till 10, and you have some other uses that are open till 10, I don't think, and I haven't had any of my emails from any of our members saying that they were opposed to the hours being till 10. People are concerned about later hours because it is in a neighborhood. And I really think we have to consider the packaged liquor sales in a parking lot that has kids' swim school, the traffic, not that you drink on premise, I clearly understand that. But in addition to this, there's liquor sales from this side at the Albertsons, which is 2,496 feet door to door, which is less than a half a mile. And there's a convenience store also 2,190 feet from this location, which is both less than a half a mile. I think the idea of a deli, sandwiches, people coming home at night after work, wanting to stop in, get some things, picnics on the weekends is a great idea. But I think when these uses are in neighborhoods, we have to be very, very cautious of what we allow there. So I think passing this with the conditions that there wouldn't be packaged liquor. And I will tell you this, I did call two people that I know that have establishments that carry packaged liquor. And at Vino 100, they told me that they make very little money, very little profit on the packaged liquor, partly because they have such a small amount of it. But the packaged liquor is not, this huge profit margin. And it's more, I think, of a message that you're sending to the neighborhood by having that. So I think approval for food, deli, those types of things in this area are appropriate. But I would consider you to limit the hours and also to consider no packaged liquor. Thank you very much.
Sir?
Todd Schwartz, 9112 Watermelon Seed Avenue. I also have concern about this area, and I want to talk about planning a little. Obviously, in today's economy, I think we all have to look back at planning, look at what we want the city to be, what we want our neighborhoods to be. It's not just about bringing business in, but it's about bringing the right business in. Because right now, I've heard at some meetings, it's Las Vegas. It's a 24-hour town. 24-hour town is 4 square miles. It's where the 100,000 people come in, and do tourists. And yes, while we do serve people there through employees that live here, it's no different than any other town that has manufacturing with 3 shifts. That could be considered a 24-hour town. So when we talk about 24-hour town, I think we need to even that playing field. And then, you want to talk about what does a C-level executive want to bring their business here. It's not always about low taxes. I think the history of this state has proved it's not low taxes that attract business, because otherwise we would have a whole lot more business. It's low taxes and the neighborhoods, the education, many other things. So when we talk about planning, obviously planning is not just about does it meet certain requirements, but is it good for the neighborhood as well? Then I want to talk about importance of walkability. Importance of walkability is a very important thing nowadays. Walkability, there's websites set up just based on residents and walkability because it's about getting out of the car, about being healthy, about doing everything else. So in the way of a convenience store, I see it's a great thing. At one of the meetings that I was able to attend, I wasn't able to attend the most previous meeting, I asked about their business plan. What's their experience in, as they call it, the high-end convenience store? Their experience currently is none. They don't have a model to prove against. So there's that question there about if you give all the special use permits that they're requesting, all the waivers that they're requesting regarding, if it's still gaming, I'm not sure. I haven't heard it come up regarding the hours of operation that they want it, as well as the packaged liquor. Definitely we can talk about restrictions of packaged liquor, weather it down, maybe no hard liquor, or no liquor at all. But the importance of all this is great to a neighborhood, to the city overall, to the image that we want to build our city upon. And, Planning Commission is not just about looking at what fits per law, but when the special use permit comes up, that gives the wider capability to look at the actual use in the surrounding area. So like I said, I'm 100% for a convenience store. I do have concerns based on their business experience for what they want to do. The only area that they could give me was their store on East Charleston. I've driven past it. I've seen it. It's different than what they're selling up here. So I think that needs to be important because the last thing we want is that they put up a facade and the interior winds up being something different in the long run. So those are the concerns. Those are the things I hope you guys think about. And, like I said, I believe everyone else has brought up the concerns that we've had.
Mr.
Thank
Chairman,
you.
if I could ask a quick question.
Thank you.
Sir, before you take off, I'm not entirely clear if you're for this or against it.
I'm for the convenience store. I'm for bringing new things in. I definitely have concerns about the hours. The hours stated from the other residents, I am very much agreed upon, 6 to 10, and then for Friday and Saturday to midnight. I do have questions about the packaged liquor, and I do have questions about the gaming. Like I asked about their business plan, how much of their business plan was entitled on the gaming and the packaged liquor. They said they couldn't operate
So
without
you're not
that.
against the store, but you have some concerns.
I have definite concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on the matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and give the applicant the opportunity to respond to some of the questions and comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I might get the overhead for just a moment. The store that we're proposing to put in will be right here, and it is in a big commercial center adjoining another site that's also a commercial center. It is a mixed use, everything from Taco Bell to Rosati's to the swim school. We feel that the convenience store will be a nice mix in there. It will help attract other businesses, hopefully, to the area, and not troublesome locations. This is the location just a few days before I submitted the actual application. I have some photos of, I believe the last time we met, it was brought up that there was graffiti on the sidewalks. I went out there 2 days later and took a look at it. The graffiti on the sidewalks is the markings from the utility companies. They have the same markings on the street for Cox Cable. I don't know what Spirit is, but it's some sort of utility. Same thing here. They had some markings on the curbing showing where their utilities were and where they were going to knock out a section of curbing because of damage. There is no graffiti anywhere around here that I could see. I've got photos here from the existing location showing no graffiti, no tagging, and along with a few shots from the adjoining property. We don't believe that it's going to attract anything other than what we want, which is the people from the neighborhood and have a use that they'll all be able to use. We did back down off of this one as well from 24 hours to 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. The slot machines are only going to be up to 7 games. That's the maximum that can be put in. We are planning to put in a deli, as we said we were. The liquor, beer, wine, and everything combined is only 8.5% of the square footage of the total store. Most of it's going to be household items, liquor store items, very few of those, produce items, the deli. It's going to be basically a mini market that has to be called a convenience store simply because of size.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've had your shot. Thank you. I'd like to, if there's no one else to speak, turn the matter over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, if I may. In this application, how substantial of your business plan is it that you have a full liquor license? Have you considered just the beer and the wine? And I thought I just heard you say that the hours of operation that you're proposing are from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm assuming that's 7 days a week.
Correct.
And what I heard Ms. Mayo say, I think, was that they were seeking some much more limited hours. But I'm curious about, I'm assuming that you'd want to sell a full complement of liquor and not just restrict it to beer and wine?
Yes, it would be selected liquors. It's not going to be like going into an Albertsons where you got 2,000 square feet of just liquor. It's going to be selected liquors, selected wines, and selected beers. I'm sure there's going to be probably some Bud Light or things like that, depending on what the people in the neighborhood are asking for. But primarily, we're looking for the imported type items and things that you just can't get in at your 7-Eleven or at your normal Albertsons.
But the Albertsons is, I think someone said it was about a half a mile away. I'm assuming it has the full complement of liquor and beer and wine. Is it a 24-hour operation, do you know?
The Albertsons is a 24-hour operation. This would be more like selected items from the Lee's Liquor. There's things in Lee's Liquors that you can't get at Albertsons or at Smith's or any of those other places. And that's primarily what we're looking to bring in. It's some of the specialty items and imported items. The same as that we're trying to bring in with the deli meats and things. We're bringing in things that you just can't go into an Albertsons or a Smith's or a regular deli. You might be able to find some items over at Roma Deli or something like that. But that's all the way across town. So we're trying to bring the same thing. Fresh bakery items, they're going to be brought in every day. Cannolis, rolls, all kinds of things are going to be brought in.
Okay, thank you.
And the liquor itself will be stored behind the cash registers, where it will be always supervised. The beer and wine is going to be a very limited selection, both cold and warm items on the shelf.
Thank you. Sir, the public hearing is closed. You're the applicant?
Real quick, Mr. Chairman. I understand what you want to put there, and it sounds like it's nice, but how do you get a more diverse selection than what an Albertson has? I mean, and I think what the folks are saying is if you go Durango and head south around there, up around Farm Road, that's where all of that take place. You even have a 7-Eleven in another shopping center that's directly across from the Farm and Durango Albertsons. Also, you've got a big drugstore there, and then on the corner of Grand Teton and Durango, you also have the Durango. I believe it's the Grand Teton Lodge, which is another tavern liquor establishment. So, I think folks see this slowly encroaching now into the residential, although it's a little ways north on Durango at Ackerman. But I think what they see is an encroachment into the neighborhood, which is going directly against what the original town center concept was. I live down around Grand Teton and Jones, but I go into the Albertsons all the time, and you're right, there's 2,000 square foot of liquor, and there's everything that you can imagine in there, and I can't see what you're going to have in your store that's not in that store.
Primarily, it's not going to be any of the generic brands or anything. It's going to be specialty wines and specialty liquors that you don't normally find in 7-Elevens or some of the other stores. The Albertsons, the Smiths, they carry the Johnny Walker, they carry the Chavez Regal, they carry the Bud Light, they carry those type of items. You don't find a whole lot in the way of imported items. And what we're trying to do is bring in more of the specialty items in a smaller amount, of course, nothing near 2,000 square feet.
So how many, your building square footage is what again?
2,500 plus square feet. We're asking for, I believe it's 205 square feet.
For the liquor?
For the liquor, beer, and wine all together.
205 square feet.
I believe that's what it worked out to. It worked out to 8.5% of the total square footage of the building. Let's see if I can find it here. Just a moment, please.
Those are the numbers we've been given.
The liquor department is only 68 square feet. It will be 100 square feet dedicated to the cold beer and wines, and another 41.6 square feet for warm items on the shelves. It'll be a total of 205 square feet. We're only asking for 68 square feet of that to be liquor.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, mine.
Please.
A couple of questions, because, I mean, personally, I like the concept of a variety like you have, but you've said a couple of things that about have me turned against it, because, for example, you just mentioned we're going to have maybe Bud Light according to what the residents want there. Well, I think we've heard what many of the residents want there, and it's not a town pump. That's not what they're wanting down there, right?
That's correct.
And so I don't want to hear talk of we might expand it if that's what the neighborhood starts wanting. Well, I don't think that's what the neighborhood wants right now. So I don't want to hear any talk of expanding anything anywhere, if that's what you intended by that. I'm not sure what you meant, but that I want to hear from you. Go ahead and answer that for me. What did you mean by that?
It's just that if we're bringing in imported items, and if, let's say, three or four imported items are selling, one item's not, we've got people coming in saying, can't you carry Bud Light instead of this? We might carry one item or two items that are domestics that people will drink. But primarily, we're looking for the specialty items to come in that will help complement the meats and the deli items and the other things that we're bringing in.
So the square footage, you're never going to expand the amount of square footage you're going to devote
That is
to any
correct.
type of this alcoholic beverage.
205 square feet total for the liquor, beer, and wine, and that's including the cold and the warm items.
And Director Wheeler, is that part of the conditions?
If I may, the two proposed conditions that should be part of your consideration would be the hours of operation. And again, right now the applicant is requesting 5 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. And that also the additional language that there would be a maximum 8.5% of the store area dedicated to the sale of any type of alcohol. Those would be the two conditions that we would propose to be on this for your consideration with regard to the hours. The maximum square footage is based upon the plans that we submitted, and we would call that out in the conditions so that it was clear for enforcement later on.
And you're comfortable with that as the applicant, to keeping it at the same?
Yes, we are.
All right, so now what about this hour of operations? Because I'm sympathetic to closing at 10 o'clock. I don't like that of it going to midnight when everything else around there is closing at 10 o'clock. Why do you have to go to midnight? Why can't you close at 10?
We might be able to do that during the week, 10 or 11 o'clock, but 12 o'clock certainly wouldn't be unreasonable on the weekends. We were thinking about opening 6 a.m. until like 11 a.m., but we had some people at the community meeting that requested that we open an hour or two earlier because they'd like to come in for coffee and a croissant or something on their way into work. So we readjusted the hours to 5 a.m. to 12 p.m.
So if I prepared a motion here that said the hours would be changed for weekdays from 5 till 10 and then weekends from 5 to midnight, you'd be okay with that?
Yes, we would.
And then lastly, what about this no packaged liquor? Would you be comfortable with that?
It's going to be such a small amount, but it would be important for us, for the operations of it, to be able to be the store that we want it to be. We've narrowed it down to 68 square feet just so we can bring in, again, just selected items. Right now, honestly, we need every revenue dollar that we can get in order to be able to be successful and be able to continue the operations of the location and hopefully be able to expand into other parts of the city, not that store.
Mr. Chairman, unless there are other comments that people...
I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
If you're preparing to make a motion, I'm wondering if, since it's a special use permit and there are concerns, you would consider in your motion a period of review, whether it be administrative or planning commission, because I think if there are any problems, we would have the ability to correct them, and it also puts the applicant on notice that there is a standard that we want to adhere to. Is that a consideration in your motion?
I like the suggestion. Would the applicant be amenable to that?
We would be agreeable to that, yes.
Thank you.
Unless there's any further comment, I'd like to make a motion for approval, subject to the conditions that were already discussed, with the amendment that the hours of operation be modified to be from 5 a.m. until 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Sorry, Sunday. Yes, Sunday through Thursday, and open until midnight on Friday and Saturday.
Also, if I may, I assume the maximum 8.5% of the square footage to be allowed for alcohol sales, and then a review 1 year after issuance of alcohol license at a public hearing of the Planning Commission?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Do you agree to the conditions as modified?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Motion's made. Please cast your votes. Post. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
And that goes forward to the City Council on October 7th.
We now move to item number 18, special use permit 35346. The applicant is Winona Pardue. The owner is Tropic Tonopah Craig Road Company, LLP, for a proposed 6,000 square foot thrift shop at 4460 North Rancho. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the proposed thrift shop will be located within a shopping center which is intended to provide a variety of commercial services. The proposed use can be conducted in a manner that is compatible with the surrounding uses, and staff is recommending approval of this request. Please note that an additional letter of support has been received for this item.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. For the applicant, we have.
My name is Winona Purdue. I'm going to be the owner of Purdue's Goodie Barn. It's going to be a secondhand store.
Thank you. And would you accept all the conditions that are presented in the staff report?
Yes.
Thank you. And
I'm Frank Consiglio. I represent the owner of the shopping center.
thank you. And your position on the matter is?
I'm just here to support her.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed and turn the matter over to the Planning Commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, may I have a couple of questions for the applicant?
Please.
Tell me what you're wanting to put in there, because I'll be honest with you, I'm getting tired of all of the thrift shops that I see going in up in that area, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned that we are creating a standard that I don't want to see up in that region. So tell me a little bit about your thrift shop. I don't know anything about what you're proposing to put in there.
It'll be tools, clothes, hardware, lawn equipment, electronics, housewares, books, toys, shoes, purses.
And so where are you getting all of these items? How do you come by them?
I buy them at public auctions.
So you're going to public auctions, you're finding these items, and then you're putting them in your store. How's your store? I mean, tell me about the interior development and what's it going to look like on the inside?
I'm going to have shelves and bins for tools, clothes racks, jewelry cases, art hanging on the walls.
Is it going to look good? Is it going to look trashy? Tell me
It's going to look very good.
Tell me on your job. What do you want to do here? Because again, I'm concerned.
It's going to look very good. It's going to be clean. Everything's going to be in order.
Commissioner, if I may jump in here too, I think part of the concern is that we want to ensure that there aren't mattresses stacked up against the walls,
no, I will not be
racks
selling
of clothes and things out in the public right away, where it doesn't look like Ma Kettle out there with a bunch of lye or something. And I think one of the questions that I would have is if someone provides something to you, where do you store these things? Do they go directly into the store? You don't have a drop-off location for donations or anything like that in your parking area?
No.
And once again, if Commissioner, your appetite is to approve this, since there are concerns, if someone would consider the opportunity for the review as well, I think that would provide an extra level of protection.
Excuse me, may I say something? Excuse me. The lease itself has a very explicit use clause in it. You can't store anything outside the premises. It's a very large center. There's 4 anchor tenants in that center. It's a very clean center. It's well kept, and it's very active.
Any other discussions?
One last question. You don't plan on putting anything outside during operating
No.
hours of operation, right? It
No.
all stays inside?
Right.
Well, unless there's any further discussion, I'd like Commissioner Evans' suggestion, that is, move for approval subject to a 1-year review.
If I may, there shall be an administrative review 1 year after issuance of business license.
That would be sufficient for me. Are you acceptable to that?
Yes.
And by the way, what are your hours of operation, out of curiosity?
9 to 7, 7 days a week.
Okay.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. And post. Motion carries.
And that goes forward to our city council on October 7th.
Thank you.
Now, before we move on to item number 19 and its companion item, I see a group of scouts in the audience that I would like to give the opportunity to have them elect somebody as their spokesman to come up and introduce themselves and why in the world are you here, and we welcome you, of course, and we'd just like to give you the opportunity for recognition. I've never seen a bunch of scouts move so fast in my life to get away from a microphone.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to see one of their leaders come up. I want to see the senior patrol leader or the equivalent thereof come up and speak, if I may be so bold.
Wow.
Okay.
Is this from a former senior patrol leader?
Yes, I was.
If they made you do it, you can pass it on, huh? Come on now.
Now, if there was a second young man that wanted to come forward, he's certainly welcome to do so.
Come on down.
There you go. Okay, and representing the famous 901 we have.
Western Prince.
Downkivis.
And what are you guys doing here? Aren't you supposed to be home studying?
We're actually here for one of our merit badges, citizenship in the community. It's like attend a town hall meeting and just kind of write down notes and.
Very good.
They picked a very exciting one, I might add at that. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to thank you guys for coming and wish you the best of luck. And I guess it's a good enough reason to miss a couple hours of homework.
Yeah.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Please, go on.
Can you explain to my scouts what exactly you do?
You mean it's not obvious?
No. Not that you're not discussing what the issues are, but so they know specifically. They've seen, 17, we're on number 19. They've seen 19 accounts of people coming up and explaining their side to that story. Did you explain to them? Because they're not going to listen to us.
We'll give it a try, and I'll take a first shot, and if any of the other commissioners want to jump in and add, please feel free, or if any of the staff wants to defend the planning and the engineering professions, they're more than welcome to join. But this is we're a body of just normal citizens that are appointed by the city council to represent different areas of the city in matters relating to land use. What can be built, as you've seen, here, whether they can build a deli that includes the sale of liquor or not, so people try to use the land in what they feel to be the most appropriate way, which oftentimes is the most profitable way. This board hears the neighbors can come forward and say, we support this or we don't support it, or if you're going to let that be built, please take into consideration like the hours of operation, like we did the last particular item. The applicant wanted to be open till midnight, and they felt that was too late. 10 o'clock should be fine, and so it's kind of a compromise position that was reached. And so it's one where the end result was something that we feel that the neighbors can live with, and the proponent, the applicant, can also live with them. And so we make decisions relating to those types of things, as well as special use permits that are a little more ambiguous as to what is permitted within a particular area of the neighborhood. But those are the kinds of things that we deal with, and I did a woefully inadequate job of summing it all up. Anybody else wants to jump in? Margo, what in the world do you do as a planner? Answer dumb questions?
I ensure that my capable staff prepares these documents for you so that you have the background information in front of you prior to the hearing, so that then when you hear the testimony of those who come forward, both the applicants and the neighbors who have concerns, you have the background to weigh their comments and then be able to judge the validity and the weight that you will give to those comments when you make your decisions.
Mr. Chairman, can I
please
jump in just briefly? Having been a scoutmaster for a number of years, let me put it in your boys' language. We make sure the city gets developed correctly. That's what we do. All right, our job is to make sure that it's done as best it can be. You don't get some bad things in bad places or bad businesses in other areas. You make sure it's clean and nice for the whole city. That's what we do. That's the objective. And the program you're in, it's a great program, young man. Keep up the good work. Earn that Eagle rank. It takes young boys like you, and it turns you into better citizens of our society here, and it makes you more responsible. And I appreciate that. I like the program. Keep up the good work.
Commissioner Goins, your thoughts?
While the Scoutmaster over there is on task, I'd just like to congratulate you guys from the executive level. I am Vice President of Scout Reach for the Boy Scouts, and on behalf of Las Vegas Area Council, thank you, and we're very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thank you. Now, can move to item number 19 and companion item number 20. Item number 19 is a vacation 35193. The applicant is ACAB Taxi Inc., or company rather. The owner is 4444 South Valley View Drive, LLC. It's to vacate a 3,126 square foot portion of a public right-of-way generally located on the north side of Gregson Avenue, approximately 580 feet west of Bruce Street. Companion item number 20 is Site Development Review 35195. It's for a proposed 8,800 square foot taxi cab limo yard with auxiliary vehicle service and auto repair with 5,800 square feet of existing buildings and a proposed 3,000 square foot building with waivers of the perimeter landscaping requirements to allow a 0-foot buffer along the west and a portion of the east perimeters where 8 feet is required, a 6-foot buffer along the south perimeter where 15 feet is required, and to allow a 0-foot sidewalk where 5 feet is required, and to allow barbed wire fencing at 1500 Searles Avenue. Staff report, please.
Excuse me, Chairman. Due to a business conflict my husband has, or a business relationship with this owner, I'll be abstaining on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. I also must divulge that I know the owner. I have not a business relationship, but we're both involved in the same sideline. He judges professional, or he referees professional boxing, and I judge professional boxing. We're on opposite sides of the roads, and we only see each other at the fights where we extend pleasantries, but I feel that relationship has no impact on my ability to render a judgment in this matter. So, staff report, I will not be abstaining.
Mr. Chairman, the largest building will be utilized as offices, while the accessory structures will be used for auto repair, paint booths, and storage. Staff was unable to locate any building permits for buildings labeled A and B on your site plan. They were built circa 1960. Buildings D, there's a couple of those, were both built without permits. The applicant fails to comply with the minimum landscapes and sidewalk width requirements. In the site's current configuration, staff cannot support the application as proposed. If denied, the subject site would contain several illegally constructed buildings with no building permits. The indicated deviations from standards will result in a development that is not compatible or harmonious with adjacent development, and staff recommends denial. Please note we have received additional letters of support and a petition after posting. In addition, if approved, planning is recommending revising condition number 8 to read as follows. on SDR 3195. An exception from Title 1912 landscape and buffer standards is hereby approved to allow 39 overall trees where 75 are required. I will defer to Public Works for additional condition changes, if approved, to be read into the record at this time.
Thank you.
Lucian Pyatt, Public Works. We wanted to make some changes because there's some revisions are made to the plan, and we're kind of not in conformance with what was advertised on the square footage, so we wanted to just delete the square footage on item 19. Wanted to delete the square footage that's mentioned and change the right-of-way width from 51 to 60 because the existing street is at 60. So the condition 1 would read, the limits of this petition of vacation shall be defined as a portion of right-of-way abutting APN number 139-26-201-004 such that a minimum 60-foot right-of-way is maintained. And we'd like to delete condition 2 on item 19 as well. On item 20, due to kind of what's gone on and what they would like to accomplish here, we'd like to change our condition 19 to read, construct half street improvements, including appropriate overpaving on Gregson Avenue adjacent to this site, concurrent with development of this site, other than tenant improvements for buildings A or building B, which is already done. All existing paving damaged or removed by this development shall be restored to its original location and to its original width, concurrent with development of this site. We'd like to change condition 20 to read, prior to submittal of construction plans or the issuance of any building or grading permits, whichever may occur first, for any construction other than tenant improvements for building A or building B, meet with the flood control section of the Department of Public Works for assistance with establishing final grade elevations, drainage patterns, and required flood protection for this site, and comply with the recommendations of the flood control section. Alternatively, a drainage plan and technical drainage study must be submitted to and approved by the Department of Public Works prior to the issuance of any grading or building permits, whichever may occur first, other than tenant improvements for building A or building B. We'd also like to add 2 conditions that kind of deal with the fact that they're asking for waivers of sidewalk and not, requesting not to put sidewalk in. The first added condition would be submit an encroachment agreement for all landscaping and private improvements, if any, in the Gregson Avenue public right-of-way adjacent to this site prior to occupancy of this site. And the second would be to sign and record, added condition 2, sign and record a covenant running with land agreement for the possible future installation of sidewalk on Gregson Avenue, waived or deferred by this action adjacent to this site prior to the occupancy of this site. And that is it.
Thank you. Is that all?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. On behalf of the applicant, we have.
Good evening. I'm Bill Curran with the Ballard Spahr Law Firm, 100 North City Parkway here in Las Vegas. Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, this case illustrates why they always build steps in front of courthouses. Because if it wasn't for those last few minutes before the hearing starts, things would have a hard time ever getting resolved. And this matter has come down to the last couple of hours just before we got here tonight. Let me say that we've been working with Public Works. We agree and accept the revised conditions that they have proposed. We think that they very fairly resolved the problems we've been having there. There's one Public Works condition, I think it's number 18, that I'll want to talk about just to be sure that it's clear and that I understand that what we think we're agreeing to is what they want us to agree to, but I'll get to that in due course. If I can just give you a little background on this, my client was approved for what is now the smallest and newest taxi cab company in Las Vegas in 2001, I believe. That was the first taxi cab license granted since the early 60s. They are limited in the number of cabs they can put onto the streets. In this case, my client can only have an average of 45 and a half cabs running in a time period. That's because they run more on weekends and more at busy times of day and slightly fewer during the off periods. But the average calculated over the month has got to be limited to 45 and a half cabs. He's been operating at a location half this size, less than half this size, over on Harmon and Valley View. Everything has gone along fine. There have been no problems there, except that now that Project City Center is coming along, the county wants to condemn or has condemned my client's property so that they can extend Harmon all the way through to the west side of the town and service Project City Center. That eviction has put great stress on my client because, frankly, there aren't very many suitable locations for a taxi cab yard, and especially one that is centrally enough located, accessible to public transportation, has the kinds of services that are required, and that has appropriate zoning. That's the first point I'd like to make tonight is we are not here for a zone change. This property is appropriately zoned. We're only here to talk about the site plan review. And then there's an associated item with regard to vacation of a sliver of land. One of the things is that when you're a taxi company, you can't close for a single day. It's a requirement of your license. You've got customers who you have standing appointments with who expect you to pick them up every day at a certain time. And it's crucial that there not be a delay in my client getting into this new location. My client, who is a really good guy, didn't do everything entirely right here, as has been pointed out. He located this suitable piece of property. He went ahead and bought it. He didn't have a contingency in his purchase that the sale was contingent on everything being approved. He thought he had a proper piece of land that seemed compatible with the neighborhood. It was properly zoned. Full speed ahead was his attitude. That led him to start making improvements in property that had been badly vandalized in the roughly 4 years since the Crema Weber dairy vacated the property. All the copper wire had been stolen, the air conditioning units, the control units had been stolen and vandalized, plumbing destroyed, windows broken, every kind of thing that happens to vacant property. As he got in to try to clean the property, knowing that he was under a short time period, he started to go beyond what he should have without building permits. He corrected the wiring, he put in windows, he dealt with the plumbing, he actually painted the building. He didn't make any change to the footprint of the building. But anyhow, when it finally came to his attention that he had gone beyond what he should have done, he, from that point on, has done everything right. And that's relevant because one of the first things that he did, and I personally accompanied him on many of the visits, is we went to all of our neighbors. If I could ask either the overhead to go to the subject property plan, or perhaps you have a better one, but I can show you who our neighbors are. We're here in this roughly 2-acre piece in the middle of the property. The Channel 3 studio is to the north. There's a radiator repair here. Mr. Ice, Anderson Dairy. As we come south, Jim Rogers, the owner of Channel 3, has a parking and vehicle storage facility immediately adjacent to us. On the west is a landscaping company. To the south, Mr. Rogers has his 2 exotic car facilities. Next to that, there is a Moose Lodge, Center for the Blind. And finally, on the east is the Archie Grant public housing facility. We have gone to all those places. We have talked to the owners, the operators of those businesses, and the residents of the Archie Grant Park, and have received very widespread support. I'm told there was one person, and one person only, who said he used to be a cab driver and he hates cab drivers.
Mr. Kern, if I can just interrupt you for a moment.
Yes.
I noticed in our backup, that was one of my questions, Sunbelt Classic Auto Museum. Did they sign off on this?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes, I have not talked to Mr. Rogers personally. He spent the
His
summer in
representatives.
Montana, but I have been over to the station.
If I can just, you bear with me for a moment and try to reframe this. The staff's original recommendation was for denial, and then there
Yes.
were some, if approved, subject to. Public Works read into the record a rather lengthy list of revisions, and you had indicated that as late as this afternoon, you were able to negotiate some changes. Based on those revisions, is the staff now recommending approval of this?
We are not. Our concern is still the lack of sidewalk on Gregson and the lack of landscaping along that area.
And Mr. Kern had mentioned, I think it was condition number 18 that he wanted to discuss. Maybe we can move forward to that, and because it sounds like there are a stumbling block here, or maybe even just some minor changes. So perhaps we can focus on that.
Number 18 is really a minor item, Commissioner. It has to do with curb cuts on the existing streets. We want to be sure that what is understood by that is that we can continue to use the driveways exactly where they are and not have to make any changes. I think that's what it means, but that's why I raised the question, just to have it clarified and be sure nobody thinks anything differently.
Now, and the right-of-way to be vacated, was that was city property that was deeded to your client, or?
It hasn't been.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your presentation. I'm just
No,
trying
it hasn't been deeded. It's owned by the city currently. I'm sorry, maybe. Okay, you can see it's a small sliver that runs along the north side of Gregson. Actually, there is a sidewalk that runs along the south side of Archie Grant. Right here, there's a very large palm tree where the sidewalk terminates. Adjacent to this piece of property, I mean, I guess we're happy to have it. We've asked for it. But the primary reason for why we want it is we want to be able to align the street so that, the correct roadway, the similar width runs the entire distance. Otherwise, if the street comes down here to a dead end, it's just asking for trouble.
So what's the big stumbling block? Maybe you can focus on
Well,
that.
I think there's a couple of things. One is the people in the city didn't like the idea that my client jumped the gun, and he's sorry, but he's done everything right since that was brought to the attention. Secondly, there's razor wire up along the perimeter of it. You can see it in the photos that are in your backup. That was there before my client bought the property. He's happy to get it out of there. It doesn't serve any purpose in his eyes. In fact, I will go on to say that he intends to put 8-foot-high walls along the northeast and south boundaries of the property. On the west boundary is the landscaping company and the auto storage facility, and those are compatible uses, and the fence has been there as it is. There's no complaint, no issue about that, I think. So those were 2 points. An issue that I think is resolved, but nonetheless I'll bring it to your attention. You can see along the east, we have to go back to along the east property line, this is where Archie Grant is, the Housing Authority project. We have our landscape buffer all the way there, but it does taper down to 0 at the 2 points where it matches up with the existing driveway. And I don't think anybody has raised that as being the problem, except that when they define the width of that, they take it that it's minimum width anywhere in the entire distance, and at the very corners it comes down to 0. Everywhere else, I think it's 8 feet wide. Sidewalks. This is one issue that's not entirely resolved. We're very happy with the proposal that we've worked out with Public Works, and that has to do with sidewalk on the south side along Gregson, along where the property is to be vacated. Currently, as I stated, there's a very large tree right here in the middle, a big palm tree that's very mature, and unless somebody tears that out, unless the city tears that out and puts in the sidewalk there, the sidewalk doesn't go anywhere anyhow. Secondly, as you go to the west, the landscaping company doesn't have any sidewalk. It's conceivable that some point in the future a sidewalk would be installed there so that the sidewalk would go somewhere. But when you go west past the landscape company, you come to the state building. The state building does not have a sidewalk. I don't think the state intends to build a sidewalk. The city doesn't have any authority to require them to do it. I guess our thought is the sidewalk is of no value because it really wouldn't go anywhere. The request from Public Works that we are happy to agree to is that we agree to a condition, a covenant that runs with the land, saying that if they determine that it's appropriate that the sidewalk be installed because it's going to connect to something, we'll go along and do it. Frankly, the sidewalk would probably be cheaper for us than the landscaping because it would have less maintenance, but we just thought the landscaping would be more attractive to the neighborhood.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can, is the applicant withdrawing their request for the waiver of the sidewalk at this time?
No, we're agreeing to the condition that has been proposed by Public Works.
Yet still requesting the waiver, because the sidewalk condition is located in 2 sections of the code. Title 18 requires a sidewalk, and so does Title 19. The waiver in this case is regards to Title 19 requirements that you need to develop a sidewalk. If you're maintaining the waiver, then the condition would not apply. The Public Works condition would not apply. The covenant, you could still not. You wouldn't be required to do that.
Yeah.
The sidewalk would be moved. So if you're withdrawing the request, the waiver, that's fine. If you're not, that's fine. I just need clarification.
As I stand here tonight, I don't want to withdraw it. I think in fairness, one thing I should disclose is that Councilman Barlow was out on the site today with a representative from the Public Works Department talking about the sidewalk issue, among other things. He has a desire to have sidewalk. Sidewalk does exist on the north side of the property up on Searles, so I don't think that's problematic. On the south side, if he wants the sidewalk, we'll resolve that between now and the time of the city council hearing, but I simply was not able to talk to him this afternoon to explain to him that it appears that there will never be a sidewalk that goes to the west of this, just because of the state building. But that's the smallest item of concern to us here. I don't want to withdraw it until we get it resolved.
Then I would recommend that the condition read in by Public Works is moot and should not be amended to do a covenant for a sidewalk at this time, as the waiver would take precedent over any condition.
Okay, so we're still requesting the waiver. Okay.
We just want to get along.
I understand.
Final issue, and this I think has been resolved. This was something that came up very late yesterday afternoon, having to do with the requirement for a drainage study. We have agreed that we will not occupy any new buildings on the premises, only the 2 that are identified as Building A and B. I can't say that Mr. Rankin was wrong when he said that the buildings were built without building permits sometimes in the 60s. I was told it was sometime in the late 30s. In any event, when they were built, because this was a dairy, they were built 3 feet above the level of the ground, so that trucks could roll right up to the dock, and they wouldn't have to lift anything, either ice or dairy products, up to the dock or up into the truck. They could simply slide them across. So the building is built 3 feet high off the ground. It's either been there since 1939, was when we think it was there, or since the 1960s. And anyhow, because of that, we've worked out an agreement with Public Works. We'll get a drainage study done, but in the meantime, we'll continue to be able to move into those 2 buildings. And we won't build the other things until the drainage study is done.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and I'll make a couple of comments. You know, the need for a sidewalk, you know, I went out and looked at that site, and I see where the existing sidewalk on the north side of the street there, Gregson Avenue, it comes to an end right where a very large old palm tree exists. And in order to install a 5-foot wide sidewalk would require the removal of that big palm tree. And I think that that fact in and of itself should be given considerable weight. Also, the realization that once you get past where the groundskeeper landscaping business is next door, you're in interstate property. I think our likelihood of getting the state to put in a sidewalk for us is fairly remote. You know, when I look across the street where the vintage car storage facilities are, I see very attractive and heavily landscaped businesses that I think that the appearance package of this street would be vastly improved with an emphasis being placed on landscaping that area that we're talking about dedicating the public right-of-way. We'd be better off if we were to landscape that area heavily rather than put in a rather than putting in a walkway that, quite frankly, won't be used, and secondly would involve the removal of a large tree. I just don't see the payoff there, going for more concrete and less green. I don't like that. Additionally, along the same lines, the applicant has indicated a willingness to put up 8-foot block walls around the 3 sides of the building. On the inside of those block walls, I see very little value in having them be landscaped, with the exception of maybe some heat island mitigation, but that gets to be pretty scientific when you start defending improvements like that based upon those types of issues. But nevertheless, if we get the green on the north side of Gregson, I'm happy and pretty supportive of the project, with the understanding of the other condition changes that have been recommended by Public Works.
Okay. Just a couple comments. So, are you saying with the landscape it with the trees, like on the in front of the vehicle antique storage? Is that with grass? Is that with a tree or grass or some type of drought tolerant
Well, I think
ground
as long
cover?
as the landscape company next door certainly knows how to do it, and I don't think we can sit up here and do the landscape design, but I'm talking about something that would be consistent with that look. And I don't know how to be more specific than that without starting to name types of plants. You know,
Well,
you're not
I
going to
meant just from because on that side you do have a sidewalk.
Correct.
And so we're saying make it blend as the other side without the sidewalk.
Correct.
But one of my concerns is, I know you said you went out and talked to the neighbors. Let me ask you, did you ask any of the seniors if they utilize Gregson as a walking corridor where they go outside of the Archie Grant Public Housing?
You know, we talked to I don't know, roughly 40 people, and the conversations were wide-ranging and sometimes extended to things really that weren't entirely germane. I can say that one of the reasons why we have such universal support is because there is neighborhood concern about the safety of the neighborhood. I don't have to say for you, but maybe for the sake of the scouts, one block north of this, is on Four-Master. There's been consistent problems with homeless. There are frequently vagrants or others who are in this area late at night, and everybody believes that bringing a little activity into the neighborhood is going to have a very salutary benefit. But I really don't think that there's... in direct answer to your question, I can't recall ever saying to anybody, do you want to walk up and down this street? We told them what we were doing, and we were taking out the sidewalk. Nobody raised any question at all about that. But I don't know that I ever said there's anybody walk around here.
Whose property is that tree on?
Cities. City housing authorities.
I don't believe it's, if I remember what I saw, I think it's in the public right-of-way. Because the housing authority's property comes right up to it, and it's just like you're running into that wall. There is no walking around the tree without going out into the street. That tree is
well, first of all,
as big as a 5-foot sidewalk.
Well, it needs to be pruned a little bit. I'm looking at it.
That's in the public right-of-way.
Right here, it's in the public right-of-way, but
rid of it.
Certainly, if it's cleaned up, I don't know if it's the slim base or the fat base tree, but
it's fat, believe me. It's big. It's a very big tree.
On Searless, which would be to the north behind your property, is it sidewalk back there?
Yes.
Okay. You agree to bring down the razor wire then?
Yes.
Bob wire? Okay.
There is barbed wire on the wall between us and the landscaping and the Rogers Car Collection on our west property line. I don't know if that's our fence exactly or whether it's their fence or probably it's our joint fence. I don't know if we'd have the right to tear down somebody's fence there, but I can say I don't think anybody, it's not razor wire there. We would, unless you direct us to do something differently, we would just leave that as it is. I don't think anybody has raised a complaint about it.
Okay. You said you were going to construct walls on the north, south, and east. Is that correct?
Correct.
What types of walls are there going to be?
Block walls. Block walls.
Black walls?
No, block walls.
Block walls.
Yes.
Okay. Just a standard block wall.
8 foot, is it?
8 foot block walls. It'll be compatible with whatever else is there. If there's decorative walls there, we'd make it decorative. If there isn't, we think it'd probably be better to leave it as is, so that it at least is compatible in the neighborhood. But we're going to have landscaping in front of the wall up on Searles and down on Gregson.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarification, if they wish to construct block walls without 20% contrasting material, that would require a variance.
Okay. That's what I was getting at, because what we want to do, you want to come in, but we want to enhance the area as much as we can, and that means it's just like Mr. Rankin said, aesthetically pleasing.
We can certainly comply with the code and be consistent with the neighborhood. The only point I was trying to distinguish is if everywhere else has gray block walls, us putting in slump stone walls may not be much of an addition. I just can't recall. We would want to make it consistent with the neighborhood. We understand the code, and we would certainly comply with that.
Okay. Can you read that again, Mr. Rankin?
The code requirement is any block wall, any perimeter block wall requires 20% decorative. Requires decorative block with 20% contrasting material. Any deviation of that would require a variance that would have to come before this as a public. It would be before Planning Commission as a variance, public hearing.
We're not going to ask for a variance. We're going to comply with the code. Comply with it or exceed it.
Okay. Thank you.
If I can just answer one other thing you didn't precisely ask, but to make it consistent with the neighborhood, we've also agreed that the buildings we're going to build in the future further down on towards Gregson. We're going to use the same contractor that built the Rogers Car Museums and have them built so that they are very compatible in appearance.
So you say you are licensed for 45 and a half cabs?
Correct.
What does that mean? One of them's a smart car cab or something?
Well, actually, a number of those are handicabs, and another big percentage of the fleet are Prius cabs. But what I was trying to say is at certain hours of the day, we put more cabs on the street. I mean, I think our maximum is 52, and our minimum is 44, depending on the time of day. I mean, between midnight and 6 a.m. on weekdays,
Gentlemen,
there's not as much.
If I can interrupt you for a minute, I'm getting more and more confused the more and more everybody talks. So I'm trying to synthesize this down to what the issues are and what we can move forward, because I thought I understood some of it, and now I'm getting confused. Can someone maybe redirect me?
Well, I think I have a couple more questions I want to finish asking.
Well, I'm just telling you, I'm getting confused the more we discuss this, so maybe we can have the applicant.
Okay, that's fine.
I understand
Let him
that,
answer his questions,
but
and he can ask points of clarification if you'd like. Go ahead.
Parking. What are you allowed to park? Because you're going to have 45 cabs. Are you going to be exiting out using Bruce and also Washington?
We will probably, this has been a subject that we have discussed with the neighbors, and sort of contrary to what you might think, everybody wants us to exit towards them, enter and exit towards them, because they want the activity in the neighborhood. But as to parking for cabs, he's only allowed to have an average of 45 and a half cars over a period of time. He owns more cars than that, obviously, and he has to have parking on his lot, not only for that small excess number of cars that he has, but for the whole fleet of cars that are typically out on the road. In fact, if they're not on the road, he's losing money and he's not in compliance with his taxi cab license. But to cut to the very bottom of it, we are completely in compliance with the city's code, which I wouldn't be ashamed to stand up here and say is really in excess. It wasn't written with consideration of a taxi lot in mind, but be that as it may, we comply with it.
So basically cabs will be coming in and out of the area for shift change, basically, and then
Correct.
going back out onto the road.
Correct.
Using both Gregson to Bruce and also classic cars out to Washington.
Correct.
Okay. Will you have a paint shop on this facility?
Not initially. We intend to come in and request approval. We intend to come in with an application to go forward for the building permit to build that paint shop. We're not going to be permitted to do it, though, until we have the drainage issues resolved to the satisfaction of Public Works.
Okay. Are you going to have any major repair of motors and engines? And
No. We'll do oil changes. We'll do. We're not going to do fueling on site. We may do air filter changes. We may change out tires or something. But minor repairs are done here. Everything else goes off property.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have any questions? Okay. No further discussion. I guess a motion's in order.
Mr.
then.
Chairman, Lucian Pipe Public Works, if I may. Just to clarify some things that we talked about. Public Works recommendation is, that if we allow them to not put sidewalk in, that we get the covenant so that if ever in the future, the city, we're planning on maintaining a 60-foot right-of-way, so the street will be public right-of-way for 60 feet. And if ever the city has to put sidewalk in, it's not on the city's dime, it's on through the covenant that it's put in. It may be 100 years from now, it may be 200 years from now, but the covenant allows us to force the developer to put that sidewalk in when we want it. So.
And that condition was
we've
accepted by
agreed
you
to
at the
that.
time.
And they've
Okay.
agreed to it, and I just want to say that was just our recommendation. Of course, you guys decide ultimately what the conditions are going
That's
to be.
your recommendation, they're accepting it. That's
Mr. Chairman, but I know you've made a comment between now and City Council that you're going to try to get in touch with Councilman Barlow's office and talk about the sidewalk, but I would just say go in, if you could talk with your architect and put a drawing in there with a sidewalk. Because personally, I'd like to see a sidewalk there, because I went out and talked to a few folks myself, and I know seniors frequent that area because they actually like to walk on the other side of the street where the classic cars are because of the nice streetscapes that's there. And they'd like to see that as much as they could on both sides of the street. Now, I know you can't, we may have to talk with the landscape company, but I don't know about the state, but I think in front of your property, I'd like to see a sidewalk at all possible.
The downside of that is if you put in a 5-foot sidewalk, that takes up most of the area that's available for landscaping, plus immediately it costs you a big tree. And so it's counterproductive.
Well, I disagree.
Okay, anyway, we're ready for motion.
You got an idea? I'll take a shot at the vacation. How's that?
Go ahead, but
I'll make a motion that we approve item 19 VAC 35193.
As revised by, conditions as revised by staff.
As revised by staff.
Including Public Works, is that correct?
All the conditions on the vacation are Public Works requirements.
Okay, motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post. And regarding item number 20.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll move for approval of item 20 with the addition of Public Works comments regarding the covenant land agreement. And did you mention something about an encroachment agreement as well?
Yes, we did. We mentioned encroachment because for now the landscaping would be in the right-of-way. So the encroachment's for the landscaping in the right-of-way.
All right.
So with the additional conditions of Public Works
And planning.
and planning.
Planning can change the condition number 8.
And Mr. Rankin, is there any let me look through it. Is there any mention of the decorative walls, or can we add that in?
That's a requirement by code. The applicant hasn't proposed a wall at this time, and I guess that's coming later. But if it meets code condition, it can be done as an over-the-counter permit, and if it meets all of Title 19 requirements.
Okay. That'll be my motion, subject to all the other conditions and recommendations.
Thank you. The motion has been made. Please cast your votes. You agree to all the conditions?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion's made. Conditions accepted. Post. Thank you.
And that both go forward to council on October 7th.
Thank you very much.
We now move to item number 21, which is a text amendment, 34879. The applicant owns the City of Las Vegas. It's a discussion and possible action to amend the Las Vegas Medical District Plan to add various lodging-related uses and make minor clarifications and corrections. Staff report, please.
Thank you. Currently, within the medical district, there simply is no mention of hotel types of uses. This would allow lodging uses, both temporary and extended stay. It would make the definitions with regard to hotel suites, and hotel resident uses added by means of an SUP, and also to allow supper club, restaurant with service bar as an accessory use if they are part of a lodging. Again, those are simply not mentioned anywhere within the medical district, and this would add them to that plan area, which does have its own separate uses.
Thank you. Is this a public hearing item?
Yes.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. Anybody in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please approach the microphone and give your name for the record. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no discussion, I think the clarification speaks for itself, and my motion would be for approval.
Motion's been...
One question, Ms. Wheeler. With regards to the supper club, is this only in hotels, or is this supper club a wide open thing that we can have private clubs and parties?
It would be a footnote added to allow these uses as ancillary when part of a development of a lodging use.
Now, this isn't intended to provide somebody to create 5 or 6 or 10 lodging units as part of an office building and try to rent those out for extended stay, is it? I mean, everything's in the details. In the medical district and right around there, there's parking lot requests that are coming forward. There's a lot of things. And in the details, we have a building that came before us, was an interesting office building. Okay, thank you. Because Blackberries go off. Nobody liked what I was saying. And we had a building, an office building. Then it came back in and had had residential put on the top level as an add-on to the building, and then it had a clinic on the bottom, which it was just a long way to get to get somewhere. And I'm figuring as soon as we approve this, the next thing we'll see is a Casa Suites on the side of that office building, renting those rooms out on a daily basis, which I think would be very inappropriate and be detrimental to the medical district.
It came to us as a request that had to do with a potential development, again, not with plans or anything like that, with regard to visiting faculty, physicians, patients, and their families to stay within walking distance of the medical facilities. There is not currently any provision for hotel, motel, any of that within the medical district area at this time. Because it is with an SUP, staff felt that we could support that, because not only would you see the site development plan review, but that you would also be able to analyze whether or not you felt that the use was appropriate in a specific location.
I still raise my concern, because I think that's part of what you have a lot of lower-end apartments on the edge of that medical district along Martin Luther King, and I could see everybody wanting to make those into hotels, so then their daily rentals kick out all the people that actually live and work in the hospital, and then they're going to be renting them out to God knows who, what, one-hour movies and all the other such. I mean, sometimes these simple housekeeping issues, you just need that extra step of thinking through what some of the pitfalls can be if we're really trying to energize the medical district. You can put hotel uses by putting a minimum number of rooms, so you don't wind up with somebody who basically wants to rent out because a hotel, as long as they come in from one primary entrance and they have lodging less than a week, God knows it can be 1 room to 10 rooms. And I know this is a special use permit, but I think good planning should provide for a plan of what we expect to accomplish and to further those goals of the medical district.
We have, a motion's been made to approve the document. Motion's been made, so cast your votes. Opposed? Motion carries.
That goes forward to council in ordinance form.
The next is item number 22, which is a text amendment 35688. The applicant owner is the City of Las Vegas. It's a discussion and possible action to amend Table 2 of Title 19.04.010 and Title 19.20 to add regulations, applicable zoning districts, and a definition for pawnbroker auto use, all wards. Staff report, please.
Thank you. We currently have definitions for auto title loan, which, as you know, allows the taking of the paper and not the vehicle, and of course no on-site storage. The issue is that the code deals with an auto pawn only as a use which then takes the vehicles and stores them on site. There is no definition of a use where you would do an auto pawn but require the storage off-site, and that's what this definition would create, is a pawnbroker auto to have specific conditions to limit the location, to have the off-site storage of vehicles, and then all of the other conditions which are in place with regard to design and other standards. And so it is creating a new use where, in the absence of a specific type of use we have at this time.
Thank you. Now I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Anyone in attendance wish to speak on the matter, please give your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Planning Commission. Nice to see you all, staff. My name is Michael Mack. I am a current applicant for a pawn shop application that's going through the application and investigation process right now. I'm purchasing Sahara Pawn on the corner of Sahara and Jones, soon to be named Max Pawn. So I'm going back into the pawn shop business. I planned it to be a high-end pawn shop. I've had several stores in the past, and I plan to do a similar type of store, which will enhance that corner. The auto pawn itself, in the past, we have taken cars in pawn, and with one of the former super pawns we have that had on Las Vegas Boulevard, right before North Las Vegas, the old Algiers site, we had a fenced-in yard. In the past, we took cars in pawn, per se, and we had them in a fenced-in area. My plans for the future and why this ordinance is coming forward is I plan to take high-end cars. A lot of the cars you take in auto pawn, of course, they need to be paid off because you don't want a car that has not been paid off. You want a full, clear title. And most of the cars you take in the lower-end side that are paid off are typically not the cars on the high-end side. And there's a big demand out there for high-end auto pawn. There are people that do pay off their cars and use them as collateral. So rather than have them on site, we could, I guess, find a location and have them on site with, fencing and such. We'd like to take the cars and put them off site. It also is a safety and feature for the cars themselves. We'd like to secure them in an off-site area so the cars will not be seen, and the person would redeem their car the day before. We'd have it back and we'd have it detailed, and it would be a security feature that we'd offer to our clients as well.
Okay. Anyone else in attendance wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed and turn it over to the planning commissioners for discussion and possible motion.
I have one question, please. Mr. Mack, number 6 on this little chart here, it says no auto pawnbroker use shall be located on either side of Fremont Street or Las Vegas Boulevard South between Charleston Boulevard and Sahara Avenue. My concern, of course, is Ward 1, and I'm worried about east of Decatur down towards probably like Rancho. You're not going to encroach down there, right? I just want to put that on the record because we don't want them moving that far. So you're talking about Sahara and Jones, and you're talking about west of Decatur.
Yeah,
am I correct, sir?
Commissioner Quinn, that's correct. But I think this code would enable future pawnbrokers, and Margot, you might be able to correct me, if there's a located pawn shop in the Rancho corridor, it would allow them to do off-site storage rather than on-site storage.
So there would not be autos stored
there wouldn't be cars
on-site.
on site. They would be stored off-site.
Okay. Thank you very much.
To kind of further your conversation on where these two restricted areas, like on Fremont Street and Charleston, was that only related to the auto pond? Is that what that was you were clarifying?
That's in the existing code with regard to all of these all pawn uses, correct?
It's been on
Yes.
the books for years.
Yeah.
I was
That's not a new thing that was created for this text amendment.
Yeah, just a matter of point of clarification. You've said it a couple of times, but I want to make sure. These changes would not allow a pawned vehicle to be stored on the site where the transaction took place.
They would be allowed if they were zoned properly. But is that correct, Margot?
That is a separate kind, that is an actual auto pawn, which exists in the code and is separate. This is a new use called a pawnbroker, auto,
Right.
which does not allow on-site storage
Okay.
for this new use.
That's all I care. No further discussion. I guess we're ready for a motion. Anybody want to jump?
Mr. Chairman, move for approval of item 22, TXT 35688.
Motion's been made. Please cast your votes. Post.
Thank you, and that goes forward to council in ordinance form.
What's the date on that?
Don't know.
Don't have it yet.
That goes through the attorney's office.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we now move to item number 23, which is shown as 27 on the agenda, but it's really 23. Anyway, it's citizen participation. The public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single item, as well as the amount of time any speaker is allowed, may be limited. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, declare the public meeting closed, and thank you very much for your attendance, gentlemen. Thank you.